Once a fractional CMO is hired, how do they launch an engagement on the right foot? What are the keys to establishing a successful partnership? I'd be interested in learning more about your onboarding methodologies, the conversations that you have with the CEO after they make the decision to hire you, how you align your capabilities with their expectations so that when you start an engagement, everything's aligned. You both sides know what's going to happen, what needs to happen, so that there's not a disconnect. And I find in my practice, the if you don't have that alignment and there's a disconnect, then it happens pretty quickly. Things are not happening the way both sides expect. Unhappiness and disappointment come into the mix, and the engagement goes pear shaped pretty quickly. What's your approach? What are your thoughts in making sure that when you hire a fractional CMO, and they're always excited when they hire a fractional
Yeah,
CMO because it's a marketing leader, someone new and fresh and exciting, they're going to do amazing things. How do you carry the momentum on? How do you turn the concept and the excitement into reality?
it's funny because I've actually got better at doing this as I've started to do it. And honestly, I didn't do the best job, I think, in my first few engagements. But what I've learned and the process I have now is essentially there's three elements to it. You used the word a little bit earlier. At the end of the day, anything in life, disappointment comes from misset expectations. So it's all about setting expectations. And I kind of do that in three ways. First of all, I get alignment on the process and I get alignment on the priorities, right? I get sales buy-in and obviously CEO buy-in that we must at least test and validate the story and get that right before we can fix or scale demand gen and sales enablement. So one, get alignment on the process and priorities. Two, we want a scoreboard. People want to see progress. So let's make that tangible by defining the process milestones and metrics, right? For example, let's agree and let's baseline customer feedback on the current story. Let's take the landing page and let's just review it with a handful of customers or customer proxies or prospects and just find out what percentage of them love it and would love to learn more about the product versus what percentage would not. And then let's fix the story, create a new landing page, go through that process again, and retest that metric after we've updated the story. Similarly, let's baseline pipeline and revenue. Let's baseline some leading indicators like engagement rates, conversion rates, win rates, sales cycles, all that good stuff. Again, let's baseline that before we start making changes. And then let's measure them on an ongoing basis after we make some changes. And then third, so that's how we can measure success. Let's agree on how we're going to measure success. Let's baseline what we're doing before I start. And then let's look at the positive, hopefully the positive impact on those important metrics after we start to work our magic. And then the third is people are impatient, right? The head of sales, CEO, everyone wants to see some quick wins. And so I think you can get some quick wins early in the process. First of all, you don't have to take months to rework the customer story. Talk to a bunch of customers, understand why they buy, the problems you're solving for them, the specific use case, the key metric that needs to be moved up and to the right. Make sure that you're talking to the subset of customers that love the product, NPS score 9 or 10, the folks that say they'd be severely disappointed if we took the product out of their hands. Use that. You can do that kind of research in a few weeks, quickly update the story, and then start running those landing page tests and provide real data to the CEO and the head of sales that the new story works better than the old story. You haven't done anything yet in terms of rolling it out to demand gen programs and updating all of the sales training tools and materials, but you've already got a win because you've already proven that customers like the new story more than the old story. Then you can start to bake the new story into some very high profile, tangible points of presence, which is typically the website and a sales deck. Then make sure it flows through to all external points of presence. So if you're on G2 and Capterra, make sure that the company LinkedIn profile page is updated. Make sure that all the employee pages on LinkedIn are updated so that everything is consistent with that story. Then you can start working with demand gen, bake the new story into their programs, and we should see improved engagement and conversion on the demand gen stuff. Bake the story into the sales training, into the sales deck, and we should start to see some improvements on sales metrics like shorter sales cycles, bigger deal sizes, fewer discounts, and so on. So get alignment on the process, number one, process and priorities. Number two, define milestones and metrics for that process. And then three, deliver quick wins where some of those wins can be delivered way in advance of making changes to demand gen and sales enablement. And honestly, I'm kind of learning this as I go along, Mark. It's in terms of how I do it as a consultant versus how I do it as the in-house head of marketing. So this is kind of my latest snapshot of how I think about it and how I position it.